So a little backstory for you. In my life, I've made the shift from employee to freelancer to entrepreneur, and it hasn't all been easy. And one of the things that's made it a real challenge centers around the way I identify as an entrepreneur. There are three areas that I really focus in. One is I'm a creative entrepreneur. Another is that I sell luxury products, and yet another is, a lot of what I do is in the wedding industry. And what I have found is that it's been a real challenge for me to find solid advice that I can synthesize for kind of where the creative work. And then I've got the luxury work, and then this is weddings. The reality is it's this intersection of the Venn diagram that I'm struggling with. I can, so the advice that tends to work here doesn't necessarily work for me or doesn't work for the weddings. And then there is a ton of advice for people in the wedding industry, but especially the luxury wedding industry. It's really small. And so that part of my business, this space right here, it's hard to find help in. And so like a lot of other people, I turned to kind of mastermind groups. That first group, the thing that they really didn't understand was the cycle of weddings. Everything for them was based around like building out your email list and all that kind of stuff. And the reality is the sales cycle for weddings, if you are not engaged yet, what do you care about wedding vendors? And if you're already married, it's only that spot between getting engaged and getting married that you even know that we exist for the most part. And so why would you want to be on my email list? Granted, I have one, you can go sign up for it, but it can't be the center. And that's really kind of everything for them was that version of tribe building. And I just don't think that works. Joined another, they just did not have enough background in what I do. And then I found Sean Lowe's BBC Collective. Now, Sean has written a blog called The Business of Being Creative. I don't know how many years, and I've read, I think, every single post Sean's ever written. And Sean announced a group called the BBC Collective, and that collective, as it stands now, is like 35 members, I think, that are all really, I am definitely not the smartest person in the room. These people are all incredibly talented, incredibly successful people in luxury weddings. And so when I have a question, most of them have experienced it before. And so the group is just absolutely fascinating. They're an incredibly helpful group of people, but also pretty diverse. As you can imagine, a lot of them are wedding planners. Okay, I lied. There are 37 members in the group. Designers, planners, photographers, but there's one. Imagine you're a wedding designer. Just deal with the aesthetics of a wedding. And you're dealing with the kinds of weddings that are, $1,000, $2,000 or more dollars per person. These are awful. So you're dealing with these weddings, they're $250,000 plus weddings in a lot of cases. And because you value the concept and the design differently than you value the execution, you charge for that part separately. And somehow to move from the design phase to the execution phase, you have to show your clients what that design looks like. And that's where my friend Matthew comes in. Matthew Myhrum is an event visualizer, and he helps wedding and event designers turn their floor plans, their specs for design into 3D renderings, full immersive renderings you can then present to your client as a way of kind of getting through the approval stage of that. So when my clients pay that design fee, the retainer up front, that is to come up with the concepts, because frankly, the concepts are the thing that I do that most other stationers don't do. The execution is a whole separate thing, and I do that too, but I want to make it clear that this concept has its own value. And so typically I'll present 2 or 3 options to a client, and those can range from, just kind of luxury to shoot for the moon. So the first option that I presented to Matthew was really luxe. But remember, we're in the wedding industry where even luxe can feel kind of plain. So Matthew, that option was nice, but he saw the over the moon option that I presented, and that was the one. So part of preparing that proposal, crafting that proposal for Matthew, is knowing whether or not this is possible. And so I had actually done a ton of work ahead of time to figure out if it was possible. The first thing I did was try to do it myself in-house. And I bought a roll of this. This is what they call an optically clear adhesive. It's what I quickly discovered is that neither in-house here or in any print shop in town, in the area, did anyone have both the skills and the equipment to lay this down right. There was just bubbles everywhere. It just wasn't working. I called one last company who I know does this kind of stuff, and we talked for a while, and if I'm frank, it was a pretty frustrating conversation. Now they actually print directly onto the back of acrylic. I received an invitation to a pretty high profile industry event, and it was printed that way, and the thing showed up with scratches all over it. The ink just sits on top of the acrylic, and it's susceptible to damage. And I knew this wasn't gonna work because I had to put something on the back of that. And I told the guy, I said, man, I have this feeling that if I glue paper to that, it's just gonna rip it right off. And he goes, well, of course it is. Then why are we talking about this? Like, let's figure out another way. Well, I found somebody, and he was in South Florida and was totally able to do it for me. Now, I will say this, there are some real challenges working with this guy. It's called face mounting, by the way. This guy didn't really understand the concept, what I was going for. And I was buying like 50 square feet, I think, of acrylic from this guy, all mounted like this. And he could have actually cut every single business card out and diamond polished the edges so they're all clean. But I knew that we were already dealing with some challenges of kind of understanding the concept. I just needed to get the acrylic in hand looking right. And so I had him instead cut it into bigger sheets. Lo and behold, the sheets come in, and he didn't really understand the concept and turned Matthew's logo 90 degrees. And so the logo, either I was only going to get 20 cards per sheet instead of 30, or I'd have to cut it with his logo sideways, which wasn't an option at all. And so so he made it right, but all that to say, just another hiccup in the process I had to deal with. So I got these laser cut, and this is where I am right now. I've got the clear kind of protective film over the acrylic already. And in my last video, you saw me print the back of Matthew's cards. That's the back right there. It was foil stamped just last week. And so now I've got these and I'm mounting them. So I built this jig that I can just take a card here as long as I know that it's right side up. This is Scotch Super 77. I tried a few different methods of assembling these. This is the one that makes it the cleanest the whole way through, minimizes my chances of damaging things, and makes everything look right. That's the end result I'm going for right now. I have to hand trim these later, but right now I just want to stack them up and keep going. So after that, there's not a ton left to do. The next thing is time to actually expose that acrylic. And that's one of my favorite things to do. This thing is so beautiful, but part of what makes it beautiful is what it reflects, which is the person that holds it. I know it's a little sappy, but I think that's just as important. So one more step and this card's done. That's what the final card looks like there. Back was done before. I just printed this. People will come to me sometimes and they just want me to print their business cards. Sometimes they come to me with a design, a full concept already, and they're not getting me at my best, because what I do is help clients be remembered. The reality is, if all your business card has is your contact information on it, someone's gonna pop that in their phone and they're gonna throw your card away. I believe that if we can find a way to make part of your card about your people and not about you, then it stands a chance of being held on to. And this is what we did with Matthews. He uses this quote a lot because it's really relevant to his industry. Good communication of design matters because it can bring dreams to life. And Matthew helps his clients bring their clients' dreams to life, to actually put them on a screen, put them in VR, help people see them. And so this is a really valuable message for Matthew. And the goal is that someone will actually, put this up on, on their desk or on a bookshelf. So if you run into Matthew and you get one of these cards, take a photo of it on your desk if you put it there, and tag us in it. I'd love to see it. Every project I do starts on my website with an inquiry. And we talk about the idea of function, emotion, and vocabulary. And it's the idea that if you can tell me what your stationery needs to do, how you want your people to feel, and what words need to be included or what design language you need to use, the vocabulary, if you can come to me with those three things and not much more, then I can help bring you past where you can possibly dream. And you wind up with something like this. And I honestly, this is my favorite business card I've ever made. It was awesome to hang out with you today. I cannot wait to show you what's coming up next. In the meantime, if you've got a project you want to work on, hit me at that inquiry form, and you know what to do. Like, subscribe, tell your friends. See you next time.